It's an incredible marketing tool if you are certified, because you can stand on that and promote that. To me, it's a real marketing opportunity to certify, some of your team, if not all of them, certainly the leaders, and to promote that and market that to your business. So we support that.
Well, good afternoon, Bart. How are you?
I'm great, Christy. Thank you for having me.
Hey, we're so happy to have you on this podcast. I want to just start this off by just you telling us a little bit about the NTCA, um, and your involvement in it, because you've been with them nearly 23 years, and just your passion behind this. It would be awesome to start off that way.
I came to the NTCA back in 2002. My background was in distribution and in sales. So 40 years in the tile business, really since right after I got out of college.
Wow.
NTCA was a great opportunity for me. The National Tile Contractors Association was established almost 80 years ago. So we celebrated 75 years a few years ago. So absolutely what it sounds like. It's a trade association for tile contracting companies. Those could be as small as sole proprietorships. There's a lot of one-person sole proprietorship companies in this industry, all the way to large open shop or union tile contracting companies. We're not affiliated with the union. We are an education association, so we welcome anyone that is in the business of tile installation. We welcome as a contractor member, and then of course companies like the Tile Doctor and other manufacturers, distributors, consultants, anyone else that's in the business of the tile industry they are also associate members. We've grown quite a bit. We started back in the 40s as a Southern organization of open shop companies, completely no unions in the Deep South, back then, and we've evolved over the years. And so from 1988 is when we actually officially became the National Tile Contractors Association, and that basically opened up our membership to throughout the country. And when I got here in 2002, we had about 400 members, and we are right now setting our sights right around 2,000 members. We're just short of that. Our goal is to get there in 2025 or 2026. We've gone from when I got here, we had 4 employees, and now we have 23 full-time employees plus several independent contractors
Wow.
that train. Where the growth has come from, Christy, has really been the expansion of our training and education program. So back in the 80s, we started to go around the country doing what we called a traditional, like 3-hour workshop educational program to teach people about industry standards, basics of installation, new products, new technology that was entering the market. And that program was widely popular and has grown from, we had 1 full-time employee that was running that program when I got here in 2002. We had 1 vehicle at that time. And now we do, I believe in 2025, we will do 400 plus events and 80 full day events, regional training programs, full day programs, and 10 2-day programs. So you're talking about 4 or 5 vehicles on the road, 6 trainers working, a director of a training program, an administrative director. It's become its own business.
And I went to one of your trainings, by the way. It was at Doll Tile in Kennesaw, and it was packed.
Well, some are packed and some aren't packed, but at the end of the day, these are programs that are put on by our associate partners, distributors, manufacturers, and they see a need in their market. And the more awareness we get of that, the more the attendance ramps up. Some of these people that attend are already members of NTCA. Some of them have never even heard about the NTCA. So a lot of this is about awareness. It's about teaching the standards, teaching the methods, creating awareness that those methods and standards exist. Because in the tile industry, the more you dig into it, you'll understand that we're still a little bit in the wild, wild west. In other words, there is no There's really very little license requirement to be a tile installer. And
Ah.
there is certainly no mandatory requirement to be a certified installer. So if you're a consumer, you're a homeowner, you're a project owner, the only real way, to determine the skill sets, are through certification or through basically checking references and things of that nature. So we would love to see the tile industry become more regulated, but that's where we are today. So, that's how we go out and grow our membership is, that's one of the primary ways we grow our membership is through the training and education program.
Mm. And that makes so much sense. Like, I had just talked to the last episode of our podcast. It was Paul Stewart of a group called Go Carrera. They're
Right.
based in the Midwest and or Kansas area. And it was interesting because he's echoing the same thing you're saying. And I've heard it from a couple of different folks now that just this the training and the education and the qualified provider in that sense, of qualified tile professional, to make sure that you have that, because it can really go off the rails if you don't.
It can, and it's certainly, we support the 501c3 organization called the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation.
Mm.
NTCA takes an active role in helping manage that. It's separate from NTCA because NTCA is a member organization.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a 501c6 trade association serving our members and serving the industry. Then the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation is a group that we actually help support the launch of actual installation certification, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's about they will have announced the 2000 certified tile installer in 2025. But if you can imagine, that has taken us almost 15 years to get to 2,000 certified tile installers.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably somewhere in the vicinity of 40 to 60,000 tile installers out there. So that's how much work we have yet to do to create awareness, because there is no requirement to be certified, but it's an incredible marketing tool if you are certified, because you can stand on that and promote that to your homeowners or builders or remodelers, and if you're an employer of installers, to me it's a real marketing opportunity to certify some of your team, if not all of them,
Mm-hmm.
certainly the leaders, and to promote that and market that to your business. So we support that
That's
effort as well. Yeah.
that's great. So for you, I mean, you said you've been in this almost 40 years. So what got you started, and what keeps you excited about it? Because, 23 years there nearly. I mean, that's incredible testament to you enjoying this industry, it seems like to me.
Yeah, I'm not one of those that came up from the tile industry. So I fell into the tile industry like many people that
Mm-hmm.
that I know. I had a 4-year degree in public administration, some journalism background, and anyways, I needed a job, and a friend of mine was working at a tile store in Minneapolis. What I found very quickly was sales really fit who I was,
Mm-hmm.
and so I quickly kind of climbed up some corporate ladders, if you will, at a large distributor. But if I could say anything about what's important when you get into any industry, it's to get involved. And what happened to me was just a great opportunity. I was asked, because I was managing a distribution company, I was asked to get involved in the Ceramic Tile Distributors Association. And so I got on their board. And then I eventually became on their executive committee and became president of the CTDA, which is a distributor organization. What did that do? That opened up the job opportunity for executive director of the NTCA, because I was working with them on events like Total Solutions Plus, or
Mm-hmm.
programs like that. So by getting involved in my industry association, it created an opportunity. And then I thought, wow, to run the NTCA, they have a magazine, they do a lot of journalism, they do a lot of writing. So that fit kind of my background of what I had gone to college for. So after
Mm-hmm.
all these years of selling and distribution
Ah.
and management, I was able to kind of bring that all together in running the NTCA. So I moved my family, 3 young boys, from Minneapolis to Jackson, Mississippi back
Mm-hmm.
in 2002. And we've been here ever since. So, what I love about the tile industry is it's a multi-billion dollar industry. But if you spend a lot of time in it, you'll understand it's also a small industry. And when you get involved nationally, you see these are family-owned businesses. A lot of them, even all the way into distribution, are family-owned businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and even in some manufacturing, they're family-owned businesses. Now the industry's changing a little bit, consolidating, getting bigger. The bigger are getting bigger. Some of the smaller are selling, but it still feels that way to me. It's a small industry, but yet with enough growth opportunity for me personally, it's been wonderful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just mentioned the Total Solutions Plus that you guys went to last month, wasn't it? In late October?
Like last week. So we were
Yeah.
just there just last week. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that because you said you were able to like address a lot of the issues that are going on in the industry right now. I'd like to hear some of your takeaways about that.
So Total Solutions Plus is, in my opinion, one of the most important events in the tile industry. It's a fall event, so it's tied into the fact that you're at the end of your year, so you can look back and
Mm-hmm.
look at what are the issues that are happening in the industry, but you're also budgeting and forecasting the next year. So the timing is perfect, and it's an Total Solutions Plus is put on and managed by NTCA and then by the I'm sorry to do this to you, but it's like an alphabet soup. But it's Tile Contractors Association of America. That's your union signatory contractors. So that's and NTCA. So that's basically your two labor organizations, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Tile Council of North America, which are your North American manufacturers of tile and allied products, and then the Ceramic Tile Distributors Association.
Mm-hmm.
So your independent distributors. Those are the four organizations that put the event on. So what do you have is generally an event that has mainly decision makers, business owners, or high level stakeholders in the industry coming together for a focused event, 2-day educational event. You definitely get management training, leadership training, bring in professional speakers. You have a nice little tabletop event to create value and awareness of your sponsors and tabletop suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have sessions for each specific association to have annual meetings or strategy meetings. And then you have some open discussions with the whole industry, and you merge in distributors, manufacturers, setting material companies, tile contracting companies, floor covering dealers who are in the tile industry. And you
Mm-hmm.
merge that into talking about, the challenges and how can we more work closely together? How can we support each other? How do we grow the tile industry compared to competitive products such as luxury vinyl tile or carpet and things of that nature?
Right.
So it's a real focused event. There's other trade shows that bring high value. NTCA is an owner in coverings, which I'm sure you've heard of. It's the largest trade show in North America. It's held in the spring. That
Mm-hmm.
has its own functionality for sure. But this Total Solutions Plus is what I call a true management conference and a strategic planning conference
Mm.
for the industry.
Right. That
Yeah.
makes sense. What this year, what were some of the top takeaways that you kind of came away from with that?
Well, some of it was reaffirmation. I would say there's a couple of things. The industry is changing
Mm.
because it's consolidating. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that we absolutely need to understand and be aware of. So
Mm-hmm.
you have larger distribution groups, you have larger contracting companies where they're starting to consolidate. It's absolutely something to think about because we have to continue to look at ways to grow the tile market with groups like this.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that takeaways for me: technology.
Mm.
Absolutely, the ceramic tile industry is no different than a lot of other industries. We have to embrace technology. How do we incorporate AI platforms into the way we communicate, the way contractors do business and estimating or project management, the way distributors do business
Mm-hmm.
in selling to architects and design professionals, and as trade associations owners, we have to look at that as well. How do we market to our members? How do we not lose that personal touch, but also utilize the technology that's out there and available to us. So that
Mm-hmm.
was one takeaway. The reaffirmation that is just something, Christy, that has to be addressed. It's the elephant in the room for the tile industry, in my opinion. It's the biggest problem facing the tile industry, which is the availability of skilled tile installers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, you can't just throw warm bodies into setting tile and think that you are going to be able to solve market needs. And what happens is we we go into what I would call a little bit of false security. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by that is the last 2 years have been a little bit soft economically. Inflation kind of affected the growth of housing and the movement of buying track housing and remodeling.
Mm-hmm.
Interest rates went up, and that affected a little bit of spending. So construction spending in general has been a little soft. I'm not so sure the tile industry has lost market share, but the numbers, the growth of tile has gone down the last 2 years,
Mm.
not up. So your false security is, well, we don't have a real labor shortage because we're down a little bit, and guys, the installers think, well, I'm getting a little soft here. I need to, pick up some more work. A couple of years ago, they were turning down work left and right. But the
Wow.
false security is, if we get the market to turn, if we start to take market share, because there is real opportunity for the tile industry to actually take market share. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and if that happens, do we have the trained installers and the trained team
Exactly.
available to do that work? And the answer is we don't.
Mm.
And so what was awesome out of Total Solutions Plus was having industry discussions and hearing the distributors and the manufacturers say, this is an industry problem. It's not an NTCA problem. It's not a tile contractor problem. It's an industry problem. And how do we address that? Some of the ways are, we've got to recruit. We have to tell a story. We have to compete
Mm.
at the middle school and high school level. We have to start creating more educational programs at the technical college level, at the community college level. Get ceramic tile into some more programming, even if it's grouped in with flooring, but even better if it's on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And start recruiting people into the trade in a more official capacity. That takes a lot of effort, and it takes some money, and it also takes marketing, because you have to tell the story of tile. What we've seen is, when we've done some grassroots approach on that, we've had some success,
Mm-hmm.
because tile is a very artistic product, and
Yes.
it's a finish. It's a finish. It's not the subfloor. It's not electrical. It's something that people see and
Mm-hmm.
live and enjoy for years and decades. And there's tile installations, as you know, that go back thousands of years when they're
Yeah.
done right. So we have a good story to tell, and we've had some success with people that tend to slide towards the artistic side. People that are even young women are looking at tile installation as a real career opportunity because of that artistic element.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got some work to do with that. But the installation shortage is such a challenge, because it takes a couple of years minimum to be really skilled enough to be installing tile without a lot of supervision. You could be a helper. You could be, you could be learning on the job.
Right.
The minute you get hired, you could go to school and be working for a tile contracting company. But you're not going to be a highly skilled tile installer for, in our opinions, 3 to 4 years. So we have to be recruiting now in order to meet the market demand in the future.
That makes so much sense. And that's another thing that I've been hearing a lot. And some of the folks that I've been talking to is just this, like you're saying, that there does seem to be a shortage. That was one of the things that Paul Stewart at Go Career was addressing. He's got a program called Jumpstart to kind of recruit people, like you said, in that age range in. And that other aspect that you talked about, that educational aspect, I mean, just for me, just to chime in about that, just learning about the history, the ancient aspect of tile, the beauty of tile. the durability, the sustainability, and the eco aspects of it. And I think that whole education push, it's going to be very interesting to see how that comes along, and what that can start doing as far as like having people see this as a real career option. And also, it's something of their own. A lot of people, when they make things by their hands and they get to they get to have their imprint. It's their style, how they're doing it. I think that would make it really attractive.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And we have developed some tools that are there to be utilized. And as a trade association, we're limited. I told you earlier, we're up to 23 employees, but
Mm-hmm.
that's 2,000 members. There's a lot of people we need to reach. We created and we utilize technology for this, but we created a 4-year apprenticeship program, and it was one of the first in the construction industry to be what they now call a hybrid program, which is a combination of on-the-job training, but with
Mm-hmm.
an online learning management system. So basically, a lot of the videos and courses are there to be taken and watched on your computer. And then
Mm-hmm.
you go from the computer into the classroom with other people, or into the field with your mentor or trainer. And it's really meant to be on the job training, some classroom training, as well as some computer training and watching. And it's a 4-year program approved by the Department of Labor. You'd think,
Wow.
you'd think that we would have, so many companies taking that on, because we make that university available to our members for free.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so hard to actually manage and implement a training program for a contracting company. So, what we have found is that a lot of that is used in spot training. In other words, they've hired 5 guys. They've got 5 new people, so they have them train on some of those focused courses, but they don't do a formal 4-year apprenticeship.
Mm.
Frankly, we don't care. I mean, we care. We want people to join and go through apprenticeship training. But at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, if our university can be utilized to train people or to enhance their knowledge, or to
Mm-hmm.
get them on a faster pace to a more higher skilled level, then by all means, we're delighted that people use it. The
That's
other
incredible.
aspect that you
Yes.
yeah, the other aspect that you talked about, which is, I think that when I said earlier that we can really grow the tile market, per capita consumption of tile in the U.S. is, for an advanced country, is actually quite low compared to if you go to Italy, or
Mm.
to the Middle East, or to other warmer, other climates, or markets like Europe, where tile has been a part of their culture going back in time, and
Mm-hmm.
especially where they build buildings to last, right?
Yes,
Is
that's true.
so the tile industry has a lot of opportunity. What's unique about tile, when you think about it, compared to carpet, vinyl, or wood? We can put it on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
We can put it on facades, exterior buildings. The technology in ceramic tile is advanced to the point where the opportunities for us are endless,
Mm-hmm.
and we can really grow that market. But we've got to market that, market that, create awareness to architects, design professionals, specifiers, builders, and remodelers, but address that labor shortage as well.
While you're
And
doing it, yeah.
yeah, and
It's
that
almost like simultaneously doing that, right?
well, and it's hard, when you try to recruit people into tile, and you go to the high school level or grade school. The good story to tell, Christy, is that 10 years ago, if you went into a high school, almost every kid would tell you they were going to college. They were
Mm-hmm.
going to go to college somehow, some way. And very rarely did a kid say, I want to go into the trades, or I want to go into construction, even though in other parts of the world it's considered to be an honor to be a tradesperson.
Mm-hmm.
That's changing here. The cost of student debt, the loans and student loans, are inhibitive to some people.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you can enter into a trade, start earning a pretty good wage while you learn on the job with no debt whatsoever, is really starting to attract attention. But we're now competing with a lot of other trades: electricians, sheet
Mm-hmm.
metal, plumbing, carpentry, home builder, general contractors, we're all competing for what used to be a very small piece of the pie. The good news is the pie's getting a little bigger,
Mm.
and what we tell kids is, you know, our pay scale when someone enters the tile industry, you're not is not, is probably somewhere not that far off from, if you were working as an assistant manager at McDonald's or Waffle House. But here's the difference. If you learn the skill and learn the trade, your income potential will go up so significantly. What happens if you just go to work at a fast food restaurant is your income potential is limited. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
you learn the trade, you're going to make very good money. Plus it feeds the entrepreneurial spirit of some young people, because you can go work for somebody, or if you've learned the skill and you really feel like you want to, you can go on your own and you can open your own business and hire a couple of crews and start your own business if you think that fits who you are. So, we a lot of this is we need to recruit more people into the trades, but not just the warm bodies, but people that have that, that feel for business, for art, for almost a little bit of a math background, engineering mindset.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kinds of people we want to target and bring into the industry.
That makes so much sense, and it is an entrepreneurial spirit, along with, because like you just said, yeah, you could go work for McDonald's and maybe make the same amount, but unless you decide you want to own that, which by the way costs a lot of money, what I
Yeah,
understand, to invest in that as a franchise. Whereas you could start your own company and it's yours, and you're not under the dictates of, of a big conglomeration like that. But no, but it's an exciting challenge to have. But like you said, it's like one of those things, like, how do you skin that cat? No offense, cats, because I love cats. But anyway, but how do you skin that cat? How do you get this information out here? I mean, it's an exciting challenge, but not one nonetheless, right?
it is. It's a lot of it is marketing, and the other part is if you learn the trade, that's the other story we can tell. There are just great stories of people that have learned how to install tile,
Mm,
and then they get hired by the manufacturers. They get hired by the distributors. They can go. You can go into being a technical representative. You can go into being a sales manager. You can't be good at selling anything unless you understand the how the product is installed.
see,
So
that's a
yeah,
great point. And that's another aspect to it. I mean, I think that's the one reason why, like, um, my education in this, this started 6 months ago when I started, working with these guys and doing my own research, and just kind of realizing how, uh, in a strange way, massive it is. It's a very massive industry, only because, as far as like the precision that you've got to have to be a tile setter and contractor, and all the different aspects that you got to understand about that, there's a lot more involved with that. And that to me has been fascinating. Plus the history. I am a geek for history,
yeah, me
the
too.
artistic side of it. And then also, like you said, the technology that's changing. These guys were just over at that, I can't ever say, cheer say, I don't know what it's called.
Sure, sigh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's an incredible show. Incredible show.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, I know you got to walk away from that just your mind just blown. Um, but just again, being filled with all these different ideas, and then from the big slabs of tile to the thin tile that you can wrap around columns. I mean, just all these different ideas and usages
Yeah.
of the product. But also, again, my mind gets spinning, as far as like the like you're just saying, just that widespread effort, and talking about these different pros that I've had the privilege to meet. Just like you said, their background, their history, their experience, and almost having a testimony, in a sense, as a part of this education program, to inspire the younger generations to take a look.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Just a perfect example of what you're talking about, like what you might see at Shirtsai, and why we have to continue to market to the next generation is you touched on it. You talked about slabs, and then you talked about the thinner porcelain tiles, or the thinner
Mm-hmm.
panels. Well, those thin panels can be utilized, as we talked about, on walls or in office spaces behind the front desks, all the way into exterior facades of buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Thicker panels are opening up a whole new market, Christy. That is bringing you to outdoor living. It's bringing you to patios and decks and
Exactly.
raised roofs, platforms like that. Pedestal systems on these thicker products. They can even be installed in sand and on gravel
Wow.
and in driveways. So that's when I talk about the ability to really increase the per capita consumption of tile is that kind of environment. One of the other takeaways I forgot to mention that we discussed at Total Solutions Plus, which I think is going to be intriguing moving into the next generation, is offsite construction. I talked about a
Mm.
little bit, which
Mm-hmm.
is the term that would be used, industrialized construction. But basically, the concept here that we're seeing is building pods or building like bathrooms or showers for commercial
Ah,
offsite and having those all built, staged, installed, staged, and then delivered to the project and then installed in a much easier, quicker fashion, and you're not on the job site for weeks at a time.
that's
That work is being
interesting.
done back. That work is being done back in the warehouse in a
Mm-hmm.
controlled environment. And we're seeing we're seeing more movement towards those kinds of installations, which might get us back where tile lost some market share over the last 20 to 30 years in like hotel bathrooms, for instance, where you see prefabricated, less expensive product go in, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that's based upon cost, but it's also based upon schedule and time to install. So by addressing some of these things with new technology,
Mm-hmm.
we think we're getting opportunity back in some markets that we perhaps had lost over the years that are now opening up. So that's another example of how technology coupled with installation expertise and embracing new concepts and new ideas is starting to help fuel the tile industry to gain market share back.
That's so true. And you had mentioned that, like with bath fitter and jacuzzi, which I'd never heard of before. And, it was just this 1 day installation thing because, like you were saying, they do all that, the measurement, the specs, and then they do it, offsite, as you mentioned. And then, kaboom, it's put in because then that way there's not a lot, especially hotels, I can imagine, there's not a lot of downtime. And lost revenue on a room or rooms, et cetera. And that's a great idea of like how to, innovate that aspect.
When we talk to an architect or design professional, if we can get ceramic tile to be installed in a competitive price at a schedule similar to that, they'll pick tile all day long because it's a natural product. We have such a
Mm-hmm.
great story to tell. We're a sustainable product.
Mm-hmm.
Our installations can, if they're installed correctly, they can last as long as you want them to last. Sometimes the only reason to change a tile installation is because orange was hot in 1965 and it's not in 2025.
That lovely
So
burnt orange.
yeah, and now we're creating technology where we can do the thinner tile over tile, right? So we don't
Right.
always have to demolish a building in order to redo tile. There's other ways to redo tile installations. But we if we can do tile and find a way to install tile at competitive prices with those products, we're going to take market share back. And
I
that's
love
part
it.
of what the discussion was in Boston.
And that's interesting too, because like some of these surfaces that they use, let's just say, for example, in a shower um, environment, tile seems like the most go-to no-brainer in a sense, unless people are, misinformed about like, oh, but it's so much trouble, just like you're saying, the whole
That's a big problem.
education,
Yeah.
right? And the awareness campaign aspect of it, because when you try to clean some of these fabricated things where the stuff gunk gets into those little, I don't know, weird designs that they have, whereas tile to me seems like so much of an easier product to maintain on top of the way it looks better and it just is more elegant, really.
Yeah, the problem is a failed tile installation is our biggest inhibitor to market growth. Installation failures are generally, if you have a shower that's failing, either something's wrong behind the scenes, plumbing, electrical, or it's a tile installation error. It's
Mm-hmm.
rarely does a ceramic tile product fail. or even an installation material product. It's usually it was done wrong, or
Mm-hmm.
they were told to do it wrong, or they didn't follow manufacturer's directions. And
Right.
they certainly likely were not certified or trained properly. So that goes back to the beginning of our conversation where what's the role of NTCA? You know, if we can, and trust me, the manufacturers give us a lot of money to help them do this. But
Mm.
if we can support, if we can help the installers learn to not take those risks, to follow the directions,
Mm-hmm.
to use tried and true industry standards that have been approved by a consensus body of manufacturers, consultants, distributors, and installers, and follow those standards and don't deviate from those standards, it, it, we can make such a difference. But when you have a failure, a shower fails in
Mm-hmm.
in $1 million home somewhere, what do you think happens? Number one, they're not going to use tile the next time because it's a nightmare when a shower fails. If it's upstairs, it flows down.
Ah,
It flows down. It can create damage in other
true.
areas. And to tear a shower out and redo a shower is very costly.
Right.
And we have members, I hate to even say this, but we have members that make a living basically fixing other people's
Oh my
work.
goodness. Yeah.
So, we know that this happens. And so the more we can minimize that, because not only do they have does Mr. and Mrs. homeowner have a failure and they might not want to use tile, but they tell their neighbors about it. And they tell, other people about it. So
The nightmare.
yeah, we've got to minimize installation failure. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And when you think about that, there is a certain pride in having such a rigorous standard because like, my dad he worked on planes. He worked for Lockheed. Can you imagine somebody cutting corners when putting
Yeah,
a plane together and putting it in the air? I mean, so that kind of work ethic and having that rigorous, checklist and standards, it really kind of it's kind of cool because it's not just anybody can do it. You've got
that's
to be a pro.
That's a great analogy that you made. Obviously, we're not brain surgeons here, but we are talking about people's living space and their homes.
Mm-hmm.
What's more important to people than their home?
I
Very, very
know.
little, right? I mean, it's right up there in the top 5 things that are important to them. And the reality is that we definitely can make a difference with that. And having a proper installation is not impossible if they just follow directions. So your analogy there is important because certification, training, all
Mm-hmm.
of those aspects. If I think one of the biggest mistakes we made in this industry years ago, and I was in it, so I was a part of this, but it's when we tried to make tile a commodity product or a product that would
Mm.
be considered a builder's standard. In other words, trying to compare tile to carpet, that's a mistake. The
Mm.
reality is we are an upgrade. We belong
Mm-hmm.
in certain parts of the home. We absolutely belong in the shower or anywhere where there's wet areas, but we also should be a design option for other areas like the dining room and the kitchen and the foyer and those areas as well. But we shouldn't try to feel like we have to squeeze tile in as the same price level of carpet throughout the home because
Yeah.
the carpet and the tile might cost very similar, but the labor is different. And we should
Yeah.
be proud of that. We should be proud that that's a highly skilled installation. It's like trying to make a decision about buying a Volkswagen or a Porsche. There's at a certain point, there's a difference in the way the
Way
product is made.
difference.
So that's why I think it's important to be proud of where tile is, and not that we ever want to charge more than we should than what the market would bear, but
Mm-hmm.
we also shouldn't try to make the labor fit into a budget when that budget might not be for tile.
Exactly. And that's a great distinction because, it's a funny thing because most of the times when I see somebody who's decided to either you know, scale their kitchen or their bathroom, it usually includes tile. So, I mean, um, and funny enough, somebody had mentioned that Carrera tile that I think is from Italy, and it's just like they were so proud that they had gotten a hold of this because apparently it's rare. So it's that kind of thing that the elevation of it. And, you just can't get away from that aspect because it's
It's
elevated in that regard.
yeah.
So you were talking about also, women in tile,
Yeah.
and you guys have an organization associated that, and just making that and the artistic aspect of that a little bit more into focus and to kind of capitalize on that demographic. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that aspect?
Yeah, because I think they're both very, very important as components of the growth of the tile industry. So I'm glad you brought it up. Though, let's talk about women in tile. We touched on it earlier when I said, look, we found that when we've gone into the schools and we've gone to like construction trade shows where they're creating awareness of construction jobs, and we're playing with tile in a big, big showroom or a big exhibit hall with all the trades, young women tend to navigate towards our mosaics, towards
Mm.
glass tile, towards geometric shapes and colors.
Mm-hmm.
So we started thinking, wow, that there is an opportunity there. So NTCA started a women in tile movement. We welcome, and it used to be, it was in our mindset that this was kind of a guy's industry, but
Mm-hmm.
the reality is there have been women in design, women in architectural components, and certainly women in the distribution side selling to the builders and working in our showrooms for many,
Mm-hmm.
many years. But we never really saw a lot of women installers. But we also had a lot of husband and wife businesses where the
Mm-hmm.
husband, traditionally, the husband was out setting tile, running the crews, and his wife was working with the builder's clients, the consumers, making selections, ordering the product, doing the books, doing
Mm-hmm.
all the invoicing, and that still exists. But at
Yep.
the end of the day, there's a lot of women in the tile industry, and we want more women in the tile industry. And in particular, we want more women installers, and we want to celebrate them because we think showing women installers that are out there successful in business or working for contracting companies is going to be a great recruitment tool to the other young women that might consider tile in their career. And so that's where that started, and it's really grown. We've had several great meetings. We've had women's construction women speakers at trade shows, and that whole program, Women in Tile, has grown quite a bit. It's grown parallel to other efforts to create women in flooring. And
Mm-hmm.
so, at the end of the day, a lot of the construction trades are recognizing that women are a market, and we're all competing for that. But we've had, because of, again, the artistic side that we talked about, we think that women are naturally gravitating towards us, towards our trade. So we're excited about that. And that ties in to the artisan movement or the artistic movement. 3 years ago, we partnered with some of our members. We've got some members at NTCA that are just incredible artists. They make tile, they design artistic elements out of different materials and shapes, out of stone, out of tile, out of
Mm-hmm.
out of mosaics. And so you have both the mosaicists or the artists that make tile, but you also have the installers that create tile installations with artistic elements.
Yes.
And we kind of brought those groups together and started an effort of training for a full week of showing tile installers who had a feel or a desire to learn artistic elements and show them how they could do that and get confident doing that and then start marketing that. Because if you can imagine, if you're doing a bathroom or a shower and a full bathroom with just say 8x8 wall tile, what if you brought in an artistic design that flowed through there, or was a large mosaic or a mural, or just banding some artistic wainscots or elements,
Yes.
into it? You can actually, believe it or not, double the at times the profit of that particular installation. Your client's happy because now you've brought something unique into their home. It's not just,
Exactly.
and you've created an opportunity for yourself. And what does that do? But it niches you up into the more the remodeling projects, the high-end builders, because you're now part of the design. You're working with the builder, you're working with the designer, and you're showing them what can be done with the artistic elements of your product. So
Absolutely.
we've done 3 of these. We will next year in 2025. we'll have had 3 of these programs, full week-long training programs, where we're taking 15 to 20 installers. But if you can imagine, these are installers that own their own business, and then they're taking that back to their business, and they're teaching people who work for them how to also do this, so that the flow down of the artistic elements training is really important. And we're glad to be spearheading that in NTCA.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's such a great idea. I feel like I got to connect you and this Bethany Porter, who we spoke to at Wet Dog Tile Company. She's up in like the Northeast, and she and her husband had this company, and they were both in sales, but she had an art background, and she does exactly what you're saying. It's just like incorporating borders or different designs, and I think that it's so funny when you hit on something that is going to be just kind of have this ability to explode into something new. And what you just described is such a great idea in that regard. So I look forward to seeing what happens with all of this. So one other topic you were wanting to talk about, and you did touch on it earlier, was just like, how do you promote ceramic tile versus competitive products like LVT, LVP, carpet, vinyl, etc.? So what is your thinking about that? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think there's several prongs to that approach. Some of it, I think, is going to be like a natural evolution. In other words, the luxury vinyl tile product, it kind of grabbed market share by storm. I mean, it really picked up. It came from nowhere, and comprises probably somewhere in the vicinity of 20% of the flooring market. So it ate a little bit into tile, it ate into wood, and it ate into carpet. There's no doubt about it. But to me, the best story to tell and to compete with those products, in my opinion, is that we are such a highly sustainable product. The environment is important to people today. But the environment is going to be even more important to people in the next generation and the next generation. And the reality is some of the products that we compete with are not environmentally friendly.
Right.
They're just not. You can greenwash you can say the right things. You can make sure your factory is doing the best that you can. But some of these products use plastic. For instance, some of these products are just a dirtier product than tile, which is basically clay, right? And
it's earth,
and fired from the earth, and fired in an oven. So that's a good part of our marketing strategy, is that we have that story to tell. The other part is we touched on it. If we install it properly, if we've got if the consumers can trust our trade to install the product correctly, we will gain more market share as well. And so, I think a lot of it is marketing and a lot of it is training and education. And we've got to do better at both.
Yes. That's the 2025 push and the consensus, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, since the name of this podcast is Up Your Tile Game, and my goodness, you've already said so many things that just your organization alone is going to, focus on to up the tile game. But when you hear that phrase, what does that mean to you? Do you have anything that you want to share about that?
Well, I think when I hear that, I think it means to be better and more diligent at all levels, which is to run. We talk a lot in the tile industry about the technical aspects of our trade. So I've spent an hour with you really talking about that. But what to up your tile game, in my opinion, is we need to do a better job as associations, as leaders, in helping our members, distributors, manufacturers, and contractors be better at business, especially on the installation side. A lot of the installers that come into business are technicians, they're artists, as we talked about, but we can help them run better businesses, run more profitable businesses. And so when I think of up your tile game, I think of getting better at all aspects of your tile business, your marketing compared to other products, your craftsmanship, your training, getting better at training your people, making an effort to train people. Don't put the people in the wrong places, having them installing the shower pan when they haven't been trained properly. And then also really focusing on utilizing resources that can help them run their businesses better. I would say what one big challenge we have, Christy, is engagement, getting our members to get engaged with our organization and others that have
Mm,
that have resources available to them, like NTCA University, like some business software and new technology ideas. Connect our members to associate partners that have the technology that can help them be better at business. That would be part of upping your tile game.
that's incredible. Awesome. Well, listen, Bart, I really appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to talk to us about all this. This is going to be an amazing episode.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.